Oh.
Hello and welcome to the live show presented by This is Ibrox. As always, I'm joined by two fantastic guests, a couple of late call-ups, seeing as the squad's been ravaged by flu. So everybody in TII that's got the flu, I hope you're in your beds watching this and you're feeling better soon. But Kieran, how are you doing today, Kieran?
I'm good. Good to be back on. I think it's been a wee while again, but a happy new year to all the listeners and the viewers and to all the other podders. And again, I think there should be a wee cut off for that. I think, see, after today, nobody wish me a happy new year. That's it.
Mate, you've long passed it for me.
I know, you're about 60s over, mate.
Really? I'm just back to work the other day, so I think that's why I'm actually seeing people again.
Aye. No, fair enough. And Ross, how are you doing, especially after having to talk about that game at the weekend on Sunday?
Aye, I seem to be rolled out at the moment when it's negative for Rangers. I think I was on post St Mirren, I was on post Motherwell, I wasn't on after that great Old Firm result, and then I was back for Hibs at the weekend. So, yeah, it's going well for me, and this is Ibrox at the moment. But yeah, delighted to be back. Yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into some of the transfer stuff. So, yeah, let's get kicking.
Yeah, this is the way with you and Rangers, and it shall be forevermore. But listen, as always, in today's show, there's plenty to talk about. Seeing as it's January, as Ross just said there, we'll talk about all the transfer links in the window so far. And some of them are so bizarre. That's what I'm trying to say there. We've got a defensive crisis at Rangers at the moment. Thoughts and Coppin's plans, where Rangers should be looking to strengthen. What are you guys expecting Patrick Stewart to say? I'm fascinated to pick you up on that. Why should we be sort of coming out and revealing what the January transfer plan is? And then we'll look ahead to tomorrow night's SPFL match against Dundee away. Obviously, no Raskin in that one. Who starts in the defence? And how do we set up against what I imagine is going to be a pretty physical Dundee? But Kieran, I'll start with you first here. We'll begin by discussing the injury crisis at Rangers with Clement in today's presser. He said something quite interesting. He says, about the injury situation compared to last season, he said, no, it's totally different. So last season we had in big spells 10, 12 players out. Now we have, is it 4? Maybe not. So Jack, yeah, sure, it's an accident. It's not really an injury. It's a contact injury. And some of the others are also contact injuries. And that's part of football. The difficult thing is it's all in one position and that way. So for every club in the world, that's the difficulty. You cannot predict that. And to have 7 centre-backs in your selection, it's just not possible. What do you think about what Clement had to say on the press conference in terms of the injuries? Is it different to last season? Because to me, we just have loads of players again.
I know he spoke a lot there about the contact injuries, but you've got to look at the fatigue injuries as well. You look at John Souttar, that was a fatigue injury. What age is Balogun? 42-year-old Leon Balogun, fatigue injury. I do get the thing about the Butland stuff being unlucky. Sterling's unlucky. Casemiro, I don't know what you could call that. Like, I'm not from a medical background. Like, I don't even know if you would call that a fatigue injury. It's just a freak injury. So, yeah, I can see why. I think it's worth mentioning as well how Clement reacted to that question. It was almost as if he had jumped on the defensive right away, and he was a wee bit annoyed about it. Because if you can remember right, he did quote, like, the injury record and the mess or the puzzle, as he put it, left to him by Beale. So it's almost like he's made a rod for his own back, knowing that probably the medical side at Rangers isn't what it should be for a club of our size. You hear that from within Rangers quite often. So he's obviously frustrated by it because things are starting to repeat itself. And I do have a bit of sympathy for him because, let's be honest, if any of us guys were in that hot seat, then there's nothing we could really do about it. They are looking at short-term options in terms of centre-backs, and we're going to get onto that. Some ludicrous links that have come in, some of them laughable. But it is, yeah, I do have a wee bit of sympathy for him. But again, there's fatigue injuries there. John Souttar played a hell of a lot of football before he was injured. So Again, does that come down to squad management for a guy that's notoriously been injury prone since he came to us?
Yeah.
Tavernier was a hip injury, am I right in saying that? We don't really know how that's come about, if that's been impact or fatigue as well. So there's a lot up in the air about the injuries, the guys at the back, but again, it never rains at Paul's, and our weakest point in the team just gets completely decimated, and there's no real sign of him coming back in the short term.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah, the press conference did not fill me with a great deal of confidence when he was asked about this, and it was still the same before. Ross, I'll ask a similar question to you. I think that's a good phrase that Kieran used there in terms of Clement made a rod for his own back, but I seem to remember every manager, Gerrard came in and said the fitness was an issue. Gio came in, the fitness was an issue. Beale came in, the fitness was an issue. Clement comes in, the fitness was an issue. Is this just something managers say? And is it just a case of Rangers have been really unlucky again? Because I'm looking at that list. Suter, Sterling, Balogun, Casemiro, Butland, Tav, Lawrence, and let's not forget Cortez was out for large parts of the season already. Matondo was out for large parts of the season. Ridvan was unavailable most of the start of the season. So was Danilo. I feel like we have this conversation every few months in the podcast. Did the manager make a rod for his own back by highlighting this when he first came in?
Well, I think you gave the example there of every previous manager saying the same thing, and it's not just Rangers. It happens at every single club. It's an easy one for a new manager to pull out when they first come in the door and claim that the fitness isn't up to scratch or what they require to play their sort of football. So I'm not surprised that Philippe Clement said it. It's not just fitness, but managers do that. They're very critical of a side they're coming into when they first come in because it's not their team. So it's a really easy one. You can pinpoint things that are going wrong, and you can always fall back and say, well, this isn't my team. If you notice, Clement's changed a lot this season. He is a lot more protective of the side, and he tries to play things down a lot, and expectations have changed, and that's because you can now argue and say it is his side. And all managers are the same, right? So I'm not going to have a go at Clement too much for that. He's just doing what any other manager would do in the same situation. As for some of his points and, being quite defensive about it, and, he has created a rod for his own back because this is a conversation we are having every single season now. So there's something going wrong, and the club are not addressing it clearly. I think he spoke about picking up the physio from Aberdeen. I can't actually remember his name, but he actually pinpointed him in the press conference earlier as well and saying they're trying to change a few things. Okay, fine. But we're going to have to start to see the results at some point because we can't be going through every single season with numerous players out for, and it's not like a niggle, right? It's not a knock and they're out for a couple of games. It's months, right? And this is several players throughout the squad now. And it's repetition. Ridvan's a good example of this, right? And Cortez as well. They're the two I always think of. No injury history before they came to Rangers. Yep. And they come to Rangers and they cannot get fit. So something is going wrong. I'm actually fearful of Ridvan every time he kicks the ball too hard. Seriously. I think he's going to do something. He done it against Dynamo Kyiv, didn't he? Where he smacked the ball on the edge of the box, get injured. And I thought he'd done it the other day when he got cramp against I think it was against Celtic, and I was just like, he's done it again. So
on the ground down.
Yeah, so I'm a bit fearful of these things, but overall, look, okay, it is a little bit unfortunate that it's all in defensive areas, but we had that in the season in the Champions League run as well. It was all in defensive areas. That's just your luck sometimes. But Rangers went into this season with an under-strength back four. They went into the season with 3 centre-halves. 2 of them were known to have historical injury issues in Leon Balogun and John Suter, even though John Suter's got over it this season. Seems a little bit ridiculous to say that now because he is out injured, but I don't think it's related to the injury issues he had before. So that one, Kieran's right, it's fatigue, right? So he's picked up a groin injury, he's out for a while, and these things happen. And your other centre-back was Robin Proper, who we didn't really know a lot about. That's 3 centre-backs. It's not enough, especially if we don't fancy Leon King. So the club have put themselves in this position. It's not unlucky. There's not really a lot of sympathy flying around for these things. And I fear moving forward that will be used as an excuse if Rangers drop points. And, we're in this position because we've lost so many players. We had most of these players available when we were 11 points behind, right? Or more. So that's not an excuse. This is just unfortunate this has happened. the club are going to have to find a way to get around it. The January market is a way to get around it. Whether they go into that market, we're going to have to wait and see.
But sorry to butt in there. I know, I get your point, Ross, about it being the January market, but this is a historical thing, like you said as well. Isn't it more worthwhile that the club should be investing more money into the medical side of things? Because it's clear that whatever we're offering here just doesn't seem to work. If you notice as well, the foreign lads that pick up players seem to go home with their homeland to get treatment. Like, why have we got a £14 million facility in Auchenhowie that doesn't seem to cater medically? To me, there's underlying issues there that have to be sorted before we just go and sign other players who'll probably get injured as well because we're not up to standard on that side of things. The reason we bring in the boy from Aberdeen is because the boy from, was it Man City that we had in left within a month? Yeah. So that's why he's here. So again, investment in these type of things does seem to work. Sports science, I think the manager calls it.
Listen, I was just about to say, we've done really well talking for about 10 minutes about sports science coming up. But yeah, Kieran, I totally agree with that point in there in terms of, it's not even that. What's going to be cheaper in the long run, investing in the medical staff or buying a player? It's going to be investing in the medical team. It's not going to cost anywhere near the same amount of money as it is to get a robust player in here. Pete Lawrence here, he says, we've been sold on our lie. Players coming in apparently more robust and controlling the injury situation. It's worse. It just seems to be a really, really big focus again, and it shouldn't be. I don't recollect another club in the history of all football having injuries discussed so much on a regular basis in the past 5 years. But Kieran, just before we move on to the sort of transfer targets and or transfer rumours and stuff like that Rangers have been linked with, what are Rangers going to do to sort of resolve this defensive crisis? Are we just going to have to put up with it? I saw, again, a couple of hours before we came in, there was an article in Rangers Review about Nsiala potentially making the transition into the sort of first team dressing room. Is he going to be an answer? Is it like even bringing Xander Hutton into the team, Adam Devine, guys that, you know, Rangers, it's been made pretty clear that are not Xander Hutton, but Adam Devine, maybe he's just not going to cut it at Rangers. But what we're going to do?
I think, am I right in saying Adam Devine was linked with a move away in the past couple of days, so I don't think he'll be around. I think as well, I touched on the medical department. It's part of a bigger issue of where we are as a team at the moment. If you look across the city, I hate to mention them, I hate to compare us to them. They were full strength against us at Ibrox when we turned them over 3-0 there. But why are they full strength without any injuries? Come part and parcel with winning games. When you're winning games comfortably and you're able to rotate your squad pretty heavily after 60 minutes in mostly every game, you think of the load on players, it's a lot less than what we're having to expect for players. We drop Czerny and Igaman against Motherwell and we have to bring them on at half-time for a lifeline because we're then chasing the game. It's more intensive for them. Instead, we're chasing games and you're going sort of, you're playing to full capacity for the full 90 minutes as opposed to resting guys and less time in the legs, working to their maximum capacity during games. So that's the difference. Having a big enough squad and a high enough quality squad that can go and get the game put to bed by half-time or by the 60-minute mark and you can start to rest and rotate. That is a massive difference. You see it down south in the Premiership as well. I think Liverpool use it very well with their squad as well. Don't get me wrong, huge budgets, bigger squads. We don't have that luxury at the moment. So I think we're a wee bit of a prisoner of where we are at the moment financially and successfully in the quality of the squad.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant answer. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. What we did at the weekend against Hibs, 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes, we shouldn't be giving them a sniff to get that goal just before half-time. And as you said, round about that magic number that we all love, that 60-minute mark, that's when it's time to rotate, get the fresh legs in. But it's just, you're right, Rangers just never seem to be in a position to do that a lot of the time. But listen, let's move on to something a bit more fun. Well, maybe it is a bit more fun to talk about, and that is some of the transfer rumours over the past few days. Ross will I'll come to you here for this first one. Start. It's Jonny Evans, 37, out of favour at Manchester United. I think he's in the last 6 months of his deal. Rumours going about that Clermont is allegedly against this because of the age and because we already have Leon Balogun in the squad. But we all know what type of defender he is. Big physical guy, just gets his body in the way. Is this someone that could do a Davy Weir type job for Rangers, do you think? Is this just pie in the sky stuff?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one actually. I think if the deal was favourable, I think it's something that Rangers would seriously look at, because I think he's only got 6 months left on that deal at Manchester United. So, it maybe would be a loan deal. You're covering, a portion of his wages for that time. And he probably could come in and play 10, 15 games for us till the end of the season and try and help us out. I mean, we are desperate, right? So I just can't see us signing any centre-back this window that, inspires the support. I can't see any centre-back coming in and all the support go, what a signing we've just made. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the funding is there for that. So it's probably going to be someone that's a bit of a stopgap, but we're in that position. That's the way it is. I can certainly think of worse options than Jonny Evans based on his career and where he's been and the level he's played at. But yeah, it's maybe not one of those kind of sexy signings you've been linked with in the past, Rangers, in terms of centre backs. But yeah, I probably would be open to it, but I wouldn't be super enthusiastic about the move. But yeah, maybe he could come in and do a Davy Weir style for us, and I think it's definitely the profile we're looking for. That type of player. I think Jonny Evans, he's played in the Premier League for so long that you are looking at a good technical footballer, but he really is a kind of older school defender, right? Very, very good in the air, covers the space well, positionally very good. So maybe, yeah, like I said, he could come in and fill a gap for us. But I can understand maybe the manager looking at it if it's all true that he has been recommended to the club, and I can imagine Niels Koppen looking at it as well and going, that's not really the route we want to go down here. I get it completely. But I certainly think he's maybe a name the support could get behind just for a short-term deal. It's like I said, Kel, he's not the worst name on that list that you've got. I would certainly be open to. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm kind of in the same camp with you as that one. If it was a 6-month loan deal, we paid some of his wages. I think Jonny Evans leans towards Rangers, shall we say? I think that is the club he supports. Is this one of those ones that you could get him just for 6 months on loan as not nostalgia, but like, because I don't want to say that. I don't want somebody coming up here just so they can say they played for Rangers for 6 months. You want them to come in and actually improve the teams. And I think there is potential there to do that. The only thing is Kyran touched, he's had a couple of injuries, the fatigue injuries already this season, and is just 37. So I could see it if it was 6 months and we weren't paying too much money for it. I would be in favour of it as well. Kyran, the next one I'll come to you here at is the man over in Zurich at the minute. It's been a long time since my Twitter feed has been filled with Niko Katic so much. Since leaving Rangers in the summer of 22, he's been over at Zurich. He started 100% of the games that they have played, which is an incredible stat. Scored a few goals, and he's even switched nationalities in that time. From Croatia to Bosnia. He's now got 6 caps for Bosnia. I know they're not exactly ripping it up on the international scene, but 6 caps is 6 caps. Is Katic the type of player that Rangers should be going for?
Profile, yes. Someone quite physical, athletic, good in the air. Stature as well. He's quite a big guy. I loved Katic when he was here. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't immense when he was here, if I'm right. He rotated quite often with Joe Worrell under Gerrard, and obviously had his name in lights with the header at Parkhead. He loves the club. The fans really like him. It's a shame to see him go, and I think he's kind of along the same lines as Hadji. Got a bad knee injury here and then didn't quite hit the ground running, and things have fell in Hadji's favour, and Katic did get shipped out permanently, unfortunately for him. in terms of making that signing, I'm trying to read between the lines here a wee bit. I know his agent's been making a lot of noise that Rangers would be his first choice, and there's been a bit of interest from the English Championship. To me, it looks like he's trying to get him a move. So, in terms of Katic himself and reading between the lines, if he started 100% of games for FC Zurich, he's now an international and he's doing well by all means with the figures. We're not going to be getting him on loan and we're not going to be getting him for free. So I just see this one being a total non-starter. And see, to be honest, I know we've spoken about Jonny Evans, we're talking about Katic, we're going to talk about others. At this moment in time with us, I don't see the point in bringing in sort of aging journeyman. I want to see us bringing in, I don't know, I look at the signings of Jefte and Iggeman and what these guys have done with the opportunity. See, at this point in time, if we sit back and we're realistic about things, the league's gone, it's done. We're not finishing third, we're finishing second. We pretty much know that. There's not much competition outside the Old Firm here. We've got to be bringing in who's going to be our centre-back for next season, whether that's a sort of young, developing talent that's going to be getting their opportunity, because let's be honest, I don't know the best way to put this. I dare say there's no pressure on Clement, but the expectations are a wee bit lower because we know he's not going to be sacked until at least the summer. He's here until the end of the season at least. So it's about bringing in sort of players for the future almost, guys that we're going to develop. I mean, look at Iggeman, right? Take that as an example. He started for us he came off the bench against Dundee United and we were like, right, okay, he looks the real deal. Started against Hibs at Ibrox, just non-existent completely, and we were all sitting saying sort of, he's going to take a long time to find his feet here. Yeah, but given the opportunity and he's got going and his trajectory has just went up and up and up. Yeah, we want to be looking in defensively for the next Calvin Bassey, somebody that's going to come in maybe on a pre-contract and we can pick them up 6 months before their contract ends, and we're going to give them opportunities and we're going to blood them in. And don't get me wrong, there's some big games coming up, Manchester United, USG, to name just a couple. We could have some nice fixtures between now and the end of the season, but in terms of the league, like let's get some half-decent signings in and blood them in the right way.
Yeah, again, I think that's an absolute fair point, but it would just be the most Rangers like ever to bring in a centre-half in Man United and then he's cup-tied in the European competitions and can't play against them. But no, I totally agreed with you in terms of the sort of profile. Ross, the next one, again, it was a fairly soft link. It was Ivorian centre-half Bamo Meite, who's currently at Olympique Marseille, 23, signed for €9 million off the back of some really, really impressive performances at Lorient in France last year. I'm assuming this would definitely be a loan deal, but the Marseille boss, De Zebri, he's come out and basically said last week that he was out for several weeks with a foot injury. But is this the kind of sort of stopgap option, if you know what I mean? 6 months loan, young profile, or would you rather Rangers went out and as Kyran said, invested in a sort of, is January the right time to be investing in your future centre halves?
It's a tough one. I think if you look at the deals for, Mohamed Diamondi and things, when he came in January, the club said that, we had to do that deal at that time in January because we wouldn't have been able to do it in the summer. We would have had too much interest. So if there's an opportunity to sign a younger developing player with potential in January, I'm open to the club doing that. That's fine. It's if they can find the funding for that, then that's great. I'm with Kyran. I could deal with a short-term loan till the end of the season just to get us through, but I certainly don't want to be paying money or giving a big contract to a player that we're not really convinced that's going to be here for the long term. I just don't think the season's not set up for that, right? Kieran's right. The league's gone. It's gone, right? Of course, the Scottish Cup is still there, and at Rangers it's all about trying to win as many trophies as possible, and that's fine, and the Europa League run as well. But I think this season has shown us, I think we were all realistic at the beginning of the season that it was going to be, a bit of a rebuild, and it was going to be a difficult season. I think we all strapped ourselves in for that, and that's what we're seeing at this moment in time. So, yeah, I don't want the club to go and spend money in areas they don't really have to or take a risk with certain players. Bamo Meite, this is one I'm not really convinced by. Doesn't really look the profile for me in terms of physicality that I'd be looking for. And the money that Marseille paid in the summer, I just think it's unrealistic. You know, if you play, what was it, €10 million they paid for? They're not gonna take that much of a loss 1 year in, are they, or 6 months in? So I just think this is a non-starter. I don't see it at all. Rangers were looking for a straight loan, supposedly. I think the journalist described it as a dry loan. I've never heard of that terminology for this sort of thing. But anyway, no buy option. So again, it's like, well, if that's the case, if you're going to go down that route, there's no buy option. I'd rather go and find someone that's just experienced that can just come in and do it for 6 months, and that's it. I don't really want to go and get a young player who you don't have any potential to keep, right? So you take them in, you develop them for 6 months, you don't get any of the benefit after. So yeah, there's two routes I suppose the club can go down, but overall, if we can't find the right player in terms of the potential, I don't want us to go and spend the money. Like, I would rather we just sit on it. I spoke about this in the previous podcast with Patrick Stewart. Obviously, we're going to get into what maybe he's going to come out and say when he speaks to the media, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is looking at the long term and thinking, okay, we might not go and do as much business this January, and we're going to try and do a wee bit more in the summer when it's a wee bit easier to get deals done. We know where the club wants to go. We've got times to make plans and things like that. So, yeah, I think you're going to see that towards the end of the window, what the kind of long-term plan is. Maybe Patrick Stewart will come out and be completely honest about it and tell us in a couple of days. Maybe.
We'll find out about that. I think I'll make my thoughts clear on that in a couple of minutes. But just right on time, as I was going to say, Rangers have just tweeted out a positive spin on the injury crisis. As Philippe Clement says that injuries can open up opportunities for others in the squad. So there we go. It's actually a good thing we've got all these injured players. Sorry, Kieran, on you go.
Yeah, see on Ross's point about the long term, I think that's bang on. This window, we shouldn't be looking at right, let's see who can do this till the end of the season. Right now, we should be looking at, right, who can we get in that's going to be part of the squad come the Champions League qualifiers in, end of July, August? Because you look back to that game against Kyiv, we were a shit show. We didn't have our transfers in order. It wasn't until after that game was out the way, like the old cliche of the horse, after the horse is bolted. That's what it was like, basically. We done our business after we had missed out in qualification for the Champions League. So if we're looking ahead right now, we should be looking at, right, let's get guys in, get them bedded in, let's see if they're good enough, and then come the Champions League qualifiers, we'll be ready, because this summer we're not going to have, 13 players walked out the door in the summer there. We're not going to have that this summer, so we've got to be looking ahead. If we get that qualification, and this is me looking well ahead, that could really change our fortunes as a club. So that's what we need to be looking at the moment with our transfers in January.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point there, Kieran. Look, the last player, and I'll ask you both about this, because I just don't even know how this has been entertained, being quite honest with you. But it's Ryan Porteous. He's at Watford, allegedly not happy. Despite what I found weird, that he's played 22 games from this season, and he's position, I think he's played once at right back. He's another player, you know what you're getting from Ryan Porteous, but in the nicest possible way. And Kieran, I'll start with you in this one. He's just too much. He had Dundee to play for Rangers.
Yeah, I think this one doesn't tick any of the boxes. I think he's an okay player. I'm not going to go out my way and say he's an outstanding player, because I don't think he is. I think there was a hell of a lot of hype round about him because he was a young Scottish centre back. But when you look at the big games, and especially for Hibs, and then you look at the game against Germany in the Euros, when it comes to the big moments, he is a stick on to let you down. He absolutely ruined the Euros for Scotland, basically. And in terms of the history between us and him, I just can't see this whatsoever. As far as I know, I think there's interest from Hull, and his preference would be to stay in the Championship in England. And
that's my preference as well.
Is it? And there's probably a lot more money down there for him too. So I can see why this one's fell apart from at Watford. It doesn't seem like the most endearing guy whatsoever. So no, I wouldn't like to see him at Ibrox at all.
Ross, even the profile of a player like Ryan Porteous, he's done too much off-field stuff to rile up too many Rangers fans. That this one's a non-starter for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think there's too much baggage there. I think I was, public about it at the time. I probably would have looked at Ryan Porteous before he left Hibs for Watford, just at the time, coming towards the end of his contract. And yeah, look, Scottish player. And yeah, I agree that he is a bit of a diddy. But I do think there's a good player in there, actually. Not an outstanding player like Kieran said, he isn't. And I would never want him to come in and be Rangers, first choice centre back. He's not good enough, but someone as a squad option that understands the league and he's shown that he can perform at a good level in this league. He's someone I would have probably looked at. But I wasn't gutted when he signed for Watford. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh no, what an opportunity we've missed. We've had plenty of those in the past. I don't think Ryan Porteous was one of those. And I think at this point as well, he'll be on really good money at Watford. So to get him back up the road, you're going to have to give him something similar. Is he worth it? I don't think so. I don't really want to be giving a Ryan Porteous 15, 20 grand a week, which is, I think, what he'd be looking for to come back up. So, yeah, non-starter for me. Kyle, I just don't think that one is ever going to happen. And especially if it was just a loan deal, which was he was being linked with. Is he going to really ruin his relationship with the Hibs support to come and play for Rangers for 6 months? I don't see it. It's not going to happen. I don't see Rangers as ever looking at Porteous as an option for them. So, yeah, Niels Coppin, I just don't see him fancying Ryan Porteous as a long-term signing for Rangers.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And look, some of the comments in here, and I'll read this comment of yours, Derek Caldwell, because I've clocked on to your other one. Katic, yes. Porteous, definitely no. Luke Gibson here says, I take Lewis Mayo back. Kieran, maybe that's for a discussion. I mean, should Rangers be looking more domestically at players? I might get absolutely shot down for this. Ross knows my thoughts on this, but I've always thought that Sanders at St Johnstone, not as a first choice central defender, but I always thought Rangers could do way worse than that. Should Rangers be looking a bit more domestically this transfer window? Because Coppin said he would do it, and I think since he's been in, only Barron's the only domestic signing we've had.
I definitely think there is a shout for that. When you look around the league, there is certainly talent that can be picked up. I think the first name that jumps to mind is Lyle Cameron, who we're going to see tomorrow night, no doubt. He's having an excellent season. The last I checked before the weekend, I think he was in 4 goals and 4 assists, and probably the type of profile that fits. Again, give him the platform at us for free, that he could progress and develop as a good player. And who knows after that? Don't get me wrong, I think there's been a lot of unfair criticism of Connor Barron because he is a young Scottish player that's come in and done well at the start of the season and probably needed his time out the team. So it's up to him to win that back tomorrow night. I know we'll get onto that, but I like the idea of us bringing in young, homegrown Scottish players. It's definitely something we don't do enough of. But again, the flip side of that is there enough quality in the league that we can bring these guys in that can make a difference? The other one that jumps to mind is obviously Lennon Miller. Have we got the money to go and get Lennon Miller? I don't know. Can we raise funds? I don't know. I know that the Cifuentes deal that looked promising is now dead in the water. I think their manager's been sacked and they've cooled their interest on them completely. So I was thinking maybe if we could get a wee bit of money in for him, we could push the boat out, try and get Lennon Miller. But I'm quite surprised at the lack of interest in Lennon Miller. But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I don't think he'll move to any of the old firm, but I think he ticks the box when you talk about young, exciting talent in Scotland. But Lyle Cameron is probably the most likely one. It seems very, very strong, the interest there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. A couple of comments coming in here. Gazabuck says, if Porteous is the answer, I don't want to know the question. And Luke Gibson, 97 here, makes a really good point. He said, Mayo would have improved massively playing week in, week out under Derek McInnes, used to having to defend with Kelly as well. Ross, the last sort of transfer link, and you were the one that actually showed me this, and I was quite happy, might be. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I suppose it is. And it's actually an outgoing, and it's Calgary are renewing their interest in Dessers after previous attempts made in recent years. The Rosa Blue are evaluating whether to take concrete steps soon. Cyril is also followed by other European clubs, is considered transferable by Rangers FC. I think it was Gabby, I can't remember the second name, the journalist that's sort of broken that, but this is a no-brainer in terms of, yes, if we should let him go if we can get anything.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one for me. If there's serious interest in Cyril Dessers, he's got to be moved on. Simple as that. I've heard a lot of discussion about what kind of fee we look for Dessers, and we need to push for 3s and 4s. No. Take 1.5, 2 million and move him on. Seriously. He's on 25 grand a week. Like, see if you get any sort of money back for Cyril Dessers, just take it. Draw a line under it. He's no good enough. He's never going to be good enough. We all know that. Time to move on. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to add to that, Kyle. It's a no-brainer, like you said. If there is Serie A interest in him, the club need to do all they can to get Cyril Dessers to take that move. There was interest in the summer. From Atlanta United, I think, in the MLS. I think they offered around $6 million, so whatever the conversion is, £4.5 million, £4 million. So,
yep.
That was a really good deal on the table for Rangers, and the player decided not to take it. I think in those moments, the club maybe should have been a wee bit more difficult to deal with, and they probably should have made it clear to Cyril Dessers that he had to move. Don't think that happened. So, I think that should be the case in January now. We've got 2 strikers in Hamza Igaman and Danilo. They're both ahead of him in the pecking order. And I think for this stage of his career, Cyril Dessers, if he's got that level of interest in him, played in Serie A, do you really want to stay here and sit on the bench? Like, do you not want to go and play at that sort of level? I think he's just about to turn 30, or he's just turned 30, one or the other. He's in his peak years. If you're being offered to go and play in a top 5 league, take it. Absolutely take it. He's not going to take a pay cut or anything like that. So
yeah,
I think it's one that would honestly be good for all parties to see Cyril Dessers move on. There's a few on the list: Cyril Dessers, Kieran Dill, Rabbi Matondo is another huge one that the club need to try and get out the door, because we're not getting value for money there. There's a few in the squad at the moment that I think the club really need to prioritise moving on. Cyril Dessers is one of them, and yeah, it sounds a bit harsh, but I would be really happy if he moved on, because I just don't think his future's at Rangers, and I think we could recruit and use that money to, put in a lot of good places. Or I'd hope that Niels Koppin would use it sensibly. So yeah, that's an easy one for me, Kyle. It would be a deal I would do, definitely.
Yeah, Tatty Bai springs to mind for that one. Derek Caldwell here in our comment says, we get told that Clermont is a plan for signings and we get told transfer details for January. Surely this is already in place. Gazabuck says, we're taking a hit in Dessers, just get him off the book. Dune says, if we pay 4.5 million for Cortez, then Calgary can pay 10 billion for Dessers. And Pete Lawrence here, he says, Matondo is a joker. Really disappointed with the boy. Yeah, I think we were all expecting bigger and better things from him. But Ross,
another one who can't stay fit, Kyle. Another one cannot stay fit.
Yeah,
yeah. I always think about this, and I think it's something that's overlooked in football. One of the most underrated aspects of being a footballer is availability. Seriously, you look at all of the top players, right? I always think of Mohamed Salah. He comes to mind at the moment, right? Best player in the Premier League. He is available every single week, consistently available. That's what you've got to be a good footballer. It's not just when you play, you show a bit of your ability. I think at times, if we're being fair, Rayo Matondo has shown at times he does have ability, right? There is some talent in there. There's also been games where he's been absolutely rotten. The problem is you just don't see him playing enough. He cannot put a consistent run together. And it was, he scored a lot. He scored a few good goals for Rangers. It's not enough. It's not enough. He's rumoured to be on between 25 and 30 grand a week. That is unbelievable for someone that you cannot get on the park. And even when he's back fit, like right now, right, he's obviously, they're probably trying to build him back up, right? The same with Oscar Cortez, but you can tell he's not really fancied. There's been times where we've needed some pace to come on, and we've not went to Rabbi Matondo. So yeah, that is one that has got to be prioritised to move on. That's a shocker of a deal. 3.5 million, 25, 30 grand a week. I mean, come on. These sort of deals have to stop.
Ross has been waiting to get that one off his chest for a good few months now.
Actually,
and there's a there's a really good comment here from Luke Gibson, and it says the amount of money we could save in our wage bill on Matondo, Dessers, Lawrence, and Dow is staggering. And Gaza Buck here says how Dow gets on the bench over Curtis or Lovelace, especially when Curtis Lovelace's contracts are up in the summer. Give the lads a chance. Totally agree. And there just seems to be a lot of comments coming back to bite Cortez in terms of it doesn't matter if you're 17 or 37. Well, evidently it does. If you're 37, you're Jonny Evans. You're too old to play for Rangers. But if you're, these guys like Curtis, I don't know how Finlay Curtis isn't in the first team with the amount of goals he's scoring. But listen, let's bring it back into. Let me get backtracking this agenda, Kieran. Dead simple question. What areas should Rangers be looking to strengthen that in this January transfer window?
Genuinely, I think we actually look good from middle to front. We are getting guys back fit there, and we're actually starting to look the part going forward most of the time. That backline, obviously, we could discuss that to death. I know there is injuries, but we are very light there. Are we going to go into next season with 42-year-old Leon Balogun as the first choice at the back? We really should be looking beyond that, but we definitely need another centre mid. Quite positive today that I think it was the Rangers Review just reporting before we went on that Bailey Rice has now got his place in the first team dressing room, which looks like it's going to be the integration of him starting to become a first team player, and hopefully means he's going to start to get minutes. But we do need another body in centre mid there. I'm probably going to say as well we need another right winger. The interest from Villarreal for Václav Černý is quite disappointing for us. But again, he came out, I think, and done an interview in his homeland and said that there was no option to buy on that deal for him. Again, just a wee sidetrack here. If we've paid a loan fee there for a guy on loan with no option to buy, that's another horrible bit of business and pretty negligent again with money. So again, it looks like we're going to struggle to keep a hold of Černý. So we need to be looking forward again, get a right winger in, someone that's going to be here for the start of next season, but already bedded in. So for me, I'd probably say I'm being very hopeful here. 2 centre-backs, a centre mid and a right winger. Move Dessers on. I'll tell you what, if we move Dessers on, and kind of touched on the point when Ross spoke about the interest from Atlanta and the player wanting to stay, the difference is now, the reason he wanted to stay then was because he was playing regular at Rangers. Now he's not. I feel like the player will want to move on now, and there's no better time. I think we need to go and buy another project striker, because the likelihood is if Iggerman keeps going the way he's going to be away in possibly the summer. And do you know what? We'll just have to accept that, because that's the player trading model and that's what we want to be doing. So if we can ship Dessers out and go and get another project striker, I know a lot of folk would have Shankland in on a free. I don't really see that as being a good option at the moment. I think we need to be looking for the next Iggerman to replace Dessers. Again, there's opportunity there for guys to play because of how depleted our squad can be, and hopefully we've got plenty of games to come. So, yeah, I want 2 centre-backs, a centre mid, a right winger and a striker, and we're going to have Patrick Stewart come out tomorrow and tell us we're not signing anybody.
Well, yeah, that's the fear, but I totally agree with you in terms of the Černý thing. I mean, it's such a boot in the store. A couple of years ago, Tillman was the best player. He was a lone player. We did have something in there, but obviously Bayern Munich trumped that by giving us £1 million to keep stum about it. Sima, player of the year again, but on loan. Nothing in there to get him permanently. It's to do that again with Černý, a third year in a row. As you said, Kieran, it's just verging on being a wee bit negligent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, see the squad. I don't think we're as far away as what folks say. I think there's a nucleus of a good team there that needs a bit more bolstering round about it. We need another... That part of the transfer window in the summer, I was quite impressed with when we signed Shefty and Iggerman and Barron. NCL's maybe not hit the ground yet. And Liam Kelly came in on a free as well, although a wee bit older. We need another sort of splurge of players like that there's lottery tickets there and maybe one comes good and we hit the jackpot with one. That's the type of players we need to be bulking the squad up with. We lack depth and quality.
Yeah. Ross, do you agree with some of the areas that Kieran's identified there? Where do you think that the Rangers should be strengthening this transfer window?
Kieran wants a full new squad here. He's going everyone in January.
And then I say I think we've got a good squad.
2 centre backs, a centre mid. No, interestingly enough, I would actually agree completely. That would be exactly my list. I don't think it's going to happen, right? Let's just be clear. I really don't see it. I can see it being like a loan deal for a centre back, and then you might get a midfielder in, maybe. But I don't see a lot of business happening this window unless the club can move on the likes of the, Dessers and Dill and things that we spoke about earlier. But yeah, that would certainly be my preference. I've seen the links with Václav Černý. I totally agree with you're both saying. It is very frustrating when the club don't get, options to buy in there. But I'll be honest with you both, I just don't think the club can afford it. Wolfsburg are going to ask for 5-6 million for Černý. Rangers are never doing a deal like that. They're never going to pay that much for a 28-year-old or whatever. I think that Brighton wanted 9 million or something for Sima when Rangers asked the question. Again, never going to happen, is it? It's just, unfortunately, we're always going to be in that market, I think, for loan players where you're going to have to do a deal for a player that just comes in and automatically improves your team, but you're realistically not going to get them. It's unfortunate. They always say don't fall in love with a loan player, and we seem to have that every single season at the moment. Yeah. Malik Tillman was a big one for me just because I felt that deal was realistic for Rangers, and it proved to be realistic. And Bayern Munich have obviously just came and said, that we don't really want you having that, so we'll just give you some money, which is fair. If Rangers agreed to it, that's fine. And it turned out, I think that Malik Tillman at the time had some other offers and he wanted to go and play at a higher level. Again, that comes into it. And I think if Villarreal have serious interest in Václav Černý, he will go, right? It's La Liga. It's a top 5 league. He's going to take it at his point in his career. So I don't hold that against him either. But yeah, those areas, completely agree. Right wing is one that, Černy's really done really well this season, but it looks like he won't be here long term, and it's something that the club need to look at. What I will say is, based on what you said earlier, in terms of Bailey Rice, I'm delighted with that because I went to watch the Glasgow Cup final. I don't know if it was last season or the season before. It was the first season that Bailey Rice had joined, and it was at Ibrox. We were playing. It was an Old Firm Cup final, and Alex Lowry and things played that night. But Bailey Rice played, and he was 16, and he was comfortably the best player in the park. Yeah. I mean, everyone was looking at him. You're speaking to lots of people there that were involved with Celtic as well, not there to watch Rangers, and everyone picked out Bailey Rice. I mean, this boy looked way above everyone else at the time. And like I said, Alex Lowry was right pushing in the first team at the time. I think he scored that night as well. But Bailey Rice was the standout. Just looked so comfortable on the ball. Looked like he had everything to really make the next jump up. And unfortunately, he's not been able to do that. They can see both sides, right? Bailey Rice has maybe struggled to keep himself fit at times. And maybe we haven't given him enough opportunities. I think we've all felt as a support, sometimes we've had an opportunity to play these boys and we haven't brought them in. Great to see him come on away in Nice. And again, I don't think he looked out of place that night. And I always think with young players, if they come onto an environment like that and they come into that environment and they don't look out of place, it probably shows you how good they are. So I'm delighted by that. If that means that he's going to be knocking on the door and he's going to be pushing the likes of Conor Barron and Raskin to play in that position, that's great. The talk around Bailey Rice before he moved to Rangers was that he was the one he was the player, not Lennon Miller. Bailey Rice was the player. And Rangers looked to get in there and got the deal done and brought him to Rangers Academy, but he's just not been able to step up. Now, it is more difficult to play for Rangers than it is for Motherwell. You've got to take that into consideration. But I'd like to see a wee bit more of this boy. I think we all want to see that. So hopefully we're seeing someone come out the academy now to bolster that first team squad. Ross McCausland's maybe not got to the level we maybe thought he would based on last year. Leon King don't think it's going to make it. And then you've got the likes of Lowry, Devine, who are rumoured to be moving on, right? So hopefully Bailey Rice is going to be the one that takes that opportunity. So I'm really, really happy to see that actually. And clearly shows that Philippe Clement and his staff rate him. Because what would be the reason to move him into the first team? Because he's not really kicked the ball. So they must be seeing something behind the scenes in B team games that he is now ready. That's the next step for him to go into a first team environment.
Yeah, I totally agree. Listen, it's a question I think the Rangers support's been asking for well, since he joined, why are we not seeing this guy a wee bit more in the first team, seeing as we are seeing how good he is? And yeah, hopefully this indicates this. A couple of comments here. Derek Caldwell says, yes, we have the nucleus of a good young team, but our squad has too many passengers. A cheap Shankland is a no-brainer. And Dunn says 2 signings and a loan deal is what we have done the last few seasons. So who knows, that might be the pattern that repeats itself. But just before we move on to the Dundee stuff, I'll just touch on this stuff because running out of time, and I do want to talk about the Dundee game. And it was just the Patrick Stewart stuff. I just find that such a bizarre situation that the CEO will be coming out and addressing Rangers transfer policies. I just think it is the most only Rangers would decide to tell the world what their transfer policy is halfway through the window. I just think I'm absolutely fascinated as to what is going to be
said. Can be good news, can it, Kyle? Can be good news.
That's the thing. That is the thing. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll sit all with bated breath waiting for that one. Kieran, Rangers are playing Dundee away tomorrow at 8:00. We know the away form. What are Rangers going to have to do to avoid a pretty physical Dundee and avoid another poor away result?
Score goals.
Right. Next question.
Yeah, plain and simple, because you look at the sort of crisis we're having at the back. I can't see us sort of keeping the door completely shut at the back. Hope I'm wrong with that, but going forward, we really need to be scoring goals. And do you know what? We've been scoring goals, so that's maybe something to hold on to, that we can go up there and sort of banish a ghost of last season, if you remember rightly. That 0-0 kind of put our title challenge off track along with the Ross County away game. So definitely think we need to go up there and produce going forward. 100% we're going to have to score and then just try and defend as well as we can. And don't get me wrong, we talk about guys taking their opportunities. Leon King's maybe felt a bit hard done to this season when he's looked at what's ahead of him, domestically, especially with how Proper's form's been domestically. And there should have been opportunities there for him. So now's his chance. Like, it's never for Leon King, because his career's pretty much stagnated after that season. He kind of get thrown in at the back with James Sands in the Champions League. It sounds crazy to say that, but it has kind of went off the rails. So he's got a chance. It's up to him to go and take it now. So in terms of this game against Dundee, I'm not really expecting a classic, but if we play the way we've been playing going forward, I don't see it being too much of an issue. I'm looking forward to seeing Lyle Cameron. Actually, I've not seen too much of him in person, just to see that if we are going to sign him, let's see how good he is.
Yeah, no, well, I think we've all been impressed by watching Lyle Cameron in the past sort of 18 months. It will be fascinating. But Ross, for me, that was the thing that Hibs changed around about the 27, 28 minute mark, is they just became a bit more physical in that game. You saw it. How do Rangers combat this? Is it just do we just not have the players to be as physical as other teams in the SPFL? Are we just going to have to accept that? And as Kieran says, just score more goals than the opposition?
Aye, simple, innit? Just go up and just go against just score.
A resume.
Don't worry about it.
The three of us submitting our resume to be in the management team at Rangers.
Aye, if only it was that simple, eh? It would just go out there and score some goals, lads. Eh? What do they need to do? I mean, I think that is a criticism of this Rangers team, that sometimes they don't look up for it in away fixtures and don't really grasp what's required in these games. And you've got to earn the right to go and play sometimes. And I thought they'd done that really well in the first 20 minutes against Hibs. I thought they competed really well and, had an element of control in the game and were able to show that there are some good players there. And unfortunately, again, and we've seen this in this Rangers team, they take their foot off the gas for one reason or another, and they don't really have that kind of management of the game grasp. They just don't understand what's required, and I think they just gave Hibs momentum in the game. And physicality was definitely a part of that, and they'll have to do that with Dundee tomorrow. Tony Docherty will have them right up for it. They have a lot of good SPFL level players. Josh Mulligan at right wing back looks a good player as well this season. Obviously Lyle Cameron in midfield. You've got Scott Tiffany on the left. They've got Seb Palmer holding up front, who looks a good player on loan, and Simon Murray, I think, has got 8 goals, and he never stops running. That's Simon Murray. So it's not going to be an easy game for us, just purely based on our away form anyway. Before you even look at Dundee, Kieran's pointing on Leo Cameron there. It'll be interesting to watch him. I thought he was superb in the second half at Ibrox. They moved him central. Tony Dock moved him central, and I thought he was really good. And I would be really surprised if Rangers aren't looking at him. You look across the city with Luke McCowan go to Celtic. I think maybe $500,000 they paid for him, and he slotted in and done well for them. There's no reason why Rangers shouldn't be making similar deals. So I'd like to think that the club are looking at him. But overall, I think it'll be a tough game, just purely based on that away form. It's 2 points out of 9 in the last 3 away games, and they're all games that Rangers should have really won, right? There's no other way of putting it. You know, you're going to drop points in the odd game away from home. It's always going to happen. We've seen that across the city when they went to Dundee United a few weeks ago. It's going to happen at points, but for how poor we were in that St Mirren and Motherwell game, and then to take your foot off the gas against Hibs and let them back in, it's not good enough. Said that on Sunday. It's never going to be good enough. So, yeah, I'm hoping Rangers can look to get back to winning ways tomorrow. They've got an okay run of fixtures coming up after this, so it's something to build on. A few home games as well, and yeah, I have to say, I don't know how you both feel, but I'm not looking forward to this tomorrow. I'm getting flashbacks to that Dundee game last season, when it finished 0-0, and that was the title race over with. So I've got a wee bit of PTSD, so I'm not looking forward to this game, but hopefully Rangers can surprise me. What I will say from that, and I think it's a good place to be when you do have that level of excitement, I just can't wait to watch Hamza Egerman every time he plays. Like it's don't think we've had a player like that for a long time. And you know that hat-trick of the weekend was absolutely magnificent, right? You know, if he can get anywhere close to that tomorrow, that would be great. I just hope his teammates make sure that he gets the result this time, because I think that was the only unfortunate thing from the other day. The headlines in Scotland for the last few days should have all been about Hamza Egerman. He should have been everywhere. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out to be the case, and that's the way it is at Rangers. If you don't win, doesn't matter. That's a harsh lesson for Hamza Egerman, and I'm sure he will hope his teammates, help him get the result if he puts in a performance like that again tomorrow.
Yeah, I totally agree about what you said about Egerman there. He's been a couple of games to get up to scratch, and he's been brilliant since then. But I must say, I've erased that 0-0 game from my memory, and all I'm thinking about is big Sam Lammers smashing the ball from
that's a better one
the box in the top bin, man. I just hope
that's
somebody
a better one.
channels the spirit of that there. Kieran, just before we kind of wrap it up a wee bit here, obviously Raskin's out for tomorrow night. It goes without saying he's going to be a massive loss. There's an argument that since he's been sort of reintegrated back into the squad, that he has been, well, for me, he's been our best player in multiple games and been the reason why in the games we've been successful, why we've been successful. But Youssef here says, who will be captain? I don't think I can give you an answer to this. Who do you think it'd be? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters too much. Likelihood is it's going to be proper. Given his experience with 20, given his relationship with the assistant manager, who was captain under as well. So yeah, I expect it to be proper. But it's crazy that we're now at the sort of 5th down the line for the captain's armband. Just kind of a small indication of where we are at the moment in terms of our squad.
And what do you think? And are you thinking it's just going to be a straight swap for Barron and for Raskin in that game? And it's
yeah, I'd be very surprised if it wasn't. But again, like I said about King, like go and take your chance. Now's your chance to win your place back. Barron done well at the start of the season. Just needs to get going again. He's a young player. He's going to have dips in form. So yeah, I expect to see Barron in there. Probably needs to do better than he did away to St Mirren. But again, we should expect dips in form in young players.
Yeah, listen, there's a couple of shouts in here. Thomas H says Hadji should get the armband. Derek Caldo says it's proper, I'm afraid to say. Gazabuck says proper Kelly. And Derek Caldwell's definitely saying no, it's proper. He was given the armband when Hadji went off. So there we go. I think we've got an answer for that one. Look, just before we wrap it up, just because we have a game tomorrow, I'll just get a quick score prediction off of the pair of yous. Ross, I'll let you go first.
Oh, I said I wasn't looking forward to it. Now I've got to give a score prediction. Yeah, well, I think Rangers will win tomorrow. I think they'll get the result. I think they'll pull out. I really can't think about getting, the possibility of like 3 points in 12 or 2 points in 12. I think they're going to have to get a result at some point. So I'll go with 2-1 Rangers. I think it'll be close again, but I think Hamza Egerman will grab the winner again. 2-1.
Good shout. And Kieran?
I'll go 3-1. I don't know why I'm so confident, but I'll go 3-1 Dundee. No, I'm only kidding. 3-1 Rangers. Hamza Egerman hat-trick. We're all on that boat right now, so let's keep it positive. Egerman to be the man.
The double hat-trick. No, I agree. I'm going into the game positive. It's a Thursday night. We tend to do well on the Thursdays. I'm going to say that I think Bayrami's overdue another goal, so I'll go for 2-1 and we'll say Bayrami to get a goal there, because with our defensive crisis, I just can't. I cannot see us not conceding in that game. But let's see. Gaza Buck here says 2-1 Egerman double. Derek Caldwell says, lads, you're the best Rangers podcast. Thank you very much. Great listen. Thank you, lads. And 2-2. And on that note, here's a positive note for you. I'll just say thank you to everybody that's joined in, commented and got involved tonight. We love doing it as always. We will be back soon. I'm assuming with a post-match reaction to the Dundee game tomorrow night as well. So I'm not sure who's on that, but we'll see you all then. Just want to say thank you, Ross. Thank you, Kieran. And take care, everybody. And we'll see you all then.